months learning the local language and the ins and outs of fish farming, Chaz and I moved to our village last May 2016. So our primary project, like I mentioned, is the promotion of fish farming in the area. So we try to promote fish farming because it helps with malnutrition, which is a huge problem, especially amongst children and pregnant and breastfeeding women. But it also it generates a much higher income than their traditional maize farming does. So once people get started and once they put in the initial inputs, then they can make quite a bit of money from it. And it's much, much lower labor than going out in the fields and planting and fertilizing everything by hand. So there were actually volunteers in our area, about 7 kilometers from where we live, 20 years ago. And they were also fish farming volunteers. So they kind of laid the foundation for a lot of the work that we do now. So they introduced the idea of fish farming. They got some people to dig ponds. They gave people knowledge about fish pond management and things like that. So really when we came in, we were just kind of picking up the pieces that were left behind. So when we got there, there were over 200 fish ponds in the area, some of which were barely recognizable holes in the ground because they were so overgrown by weeds, but they were still there. So most of our work has just been renovation these past 16 months. So renovating fish ponds and also a few major dams in the area. And then again, just helping them to remember a lot of the information on fish farming that they learned 20 years ago. So managing fish ponds, stocking them, harvesting, everything that goes into it. So one of our biggest success stories in fish farming is about a farmer named Gateson Muvumi. So actually, that's him right there in the blue shirt. So this picture was taken soon after we arrived at our site, and we're actually repairing a dam in this picture. So when we arrived at site, Gateson was the first farmer to approach us to ask for help. We visited his farm, I think, within the first week that we were there. He showed us his dam, which was in that picture, which had unfortunately been vandalized by jealous neighbors. So a quick aside, in the village, jealousy is a big problem because most people are living at the same level. So once one person starts to succeed or to do well, people become jealous and they associate it with witchcraft, with that person selling their soul to the devil, and then they will vandalize their property, what the achievements that they've made, they'll try to destroy that and take it down. So that is tough because rather than seeing that person and striving to be like them or to do what they're doing, they just have a very difficult time accepting other people's successes. So the dam was in disrepair, but we worked with him and his fish farming group every week from that day onward. And every time we went to see him, he was working on his dam, and usually in the company of his closest friend and neighbor, Poison. His name is Poison. They have very interesting names. Who is 75 years old, and he likes to pride himself in telling you about his 65 biological children. So many men also have multiple wives in Zambia, particularly actually in the southern province of Zambia, but all over the country you'll find it. And so it wasn't from one woman, no. I think he has 10 different wives, so it's maybe around 6 from each. But he says he has a hard time remembering their names, but he can remember at least their faces. So, that's something. He doesn't know where they live, though, but he does have 65 children. So these two older men, occasionally assisted by a younger group of men and women, worked tirelessly on that dam for 6 months. So they finished the dam in November, and as soon as the dam was finished, we worked with Gateson to renovate some of his existing fish ponds. He had 3 of them, and once they were renovated, we filled them with water and began making an algae bloom. So we do that because it helps to provide feed to the fish. So 2 weeks later, he took all the money that he had, all the money that his family had, which was 100 kwacha, the equivalent of $10 US, and he bought 100 fingerlings from another cooperative in the area. So he put these fingerlings in one of his ponds, and within 3 to 4 months, the fingerlings began to reproduce. So by the time March rolled around, he found himself with hundreds more fingerlings, so he took those and stocked his surrounding ponds, and in the past 3 months, he's managed to complete 7 other ponds and is working to stock all of them. So he also started gardens alongside his ponds, and he's teaching other farmers about integrated agriculture. So though we've been a helping hand along the way, he's really done this on his own because he's been motivated to do so. So though our time is consumed a lot with fish farming, we do like to do other things in the area. So we have a few different children's clubs. These are pictures from those. We have an HIV/AIDS children's club, and a girls one called GLOW, Girls Leading Our World, and a boys club called BRO, Boys Respecting Others. So we love working with the children, and a lot of the books that I think some of you sent are being put to use. They love reading the books at the clubs, so sometimes I'll just bring a pile of them out, and they'll sit in a circle and take turns reading one sentence, and they understand bits of it, and the pictures help. So they're enjoying that, and it's helping them with their English. So we've also hosted different workshops on crop diversification. We do some health discussions surrounding topics such as malaria, HIV/AIDS, prenatal health, and malnutrition. And for many of these projects that we've done, we've been able to partner with some local medical staff, fellow Peace Corps volunteers in the area, and NGOs in the greater Zambia. And through writing grants and donations, we've been able to build a tool library and also a small children's book library in the village. So much of the work that we do comes to us rather than us seeking it out. For example, in March, a woman stopped me on a small trail while I was going for a morning run, and she told me that she was living with HIV/AIDS and that many other people in the area were as well. She told me that they wanted to create a support group and begin income generating projects with our help. We organized a meeting, and over 20 people showed up on the first day. The group began making some copper jewelry to sell as a source of income, just like this ring I'm wearing here. Since no one else in the village was doing anything like this, they began being quite successful. When they found out that Chaz and I were coming here, back to America, they requested that we bring some of their handcrafted items with to sell. We told the group that the only way that this could be possible was if the proceeds went towards starting an income-generating project that would sustainably benefit the whole group. They happily agreed and began crafting. Today I have with me all the things that they made. All the profits from these sales, including donations, will be given to the HIV/AIDS support group to fund their upcoming projects. Right now, they are hoping to purchase a few milking goats and supplies to continue with their crafting. This group is very important in the area because, unfortunately, stigmatization is a major problem. Even though the disease is widely spread throughout the country, members of the group, members of the group benefit from the continual support of others and are reminded that HIV is not a death sentence or a cause for shame or ridicule. So it may seem that we live very different lives from Zambians, which we do. We live under very different circumstances and in very different conditions. But we're all just people in the end, and I've come to realize that people aren't quite as complex as we make them out to be. We laugh when we're happy and cry when we're sad. We dance and sing to celebrate, and we like to dress in nice clothes for fancy occasions. We cook and share food with friends, and at the end of the day, we sleep, whether on the floor of a mud hut or in a nice comfortable bed inside of a house. And we wake up and do the same thing the next day. So it's not as complex as we make it out to be. All right, that's all I have for you right now, but